Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, everybody, for joining us again. We are in episode 6 of the Medusa Project. And this is conversation for the woman that didn't break. Um, she slowly depleted themselves and they're trying to fit into the system and your different roles of relationships and different things like that. And you do that to the point where you override your own knowing of, what you're supposed to be. And sometimes the awakening doesn't come from wanting more. It just comes from realizing that staying is no longer feels possible. That when you get into that staying point, you're suffocating yourself in one aspect or another. Um, we do have a special guest on, and before we get too much into it, I want about reclaiming our identity and name what it costs. Excuse me.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're all right. You're all right. So before we move deeper into that, I want to pause here because this episode is grounded for our lived in experience. We have Miss Danielle O'Connell with us. Um, Danielle walks alongside women who are exhausted from forcing themselves to fit into different structures. Then quietly drain their energy and their bodies and their homes, their relationships, and all aspects of their life. Her work comes from knowing what it's like to try to belong into the system that were never designed to hold you. And what happens when stepping off of that expected path becomes the only honest choice. So Danielle, I want to give you this time. You can use it however you want to, whether it's sharing part of your story, the moment that shifted things for you, or simply how you found your way back to yourself. So, Danielle, the floor is yours, and then we'll get into some questions.
Yeah. So I think for me, the story of finding myself again came when motherhood came, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very, very big moment. And I don't think I even realized, I don't like the word broken, but how wounded I was
Yeah, I
from
don't like the
every.
word broken either. I get that.
Yeah. So I'm going to use the word wounded, though. I had some wings that needed to be mended. And I don't think I realized that until I became a mother,
Mm-hmm.
because it was the mother of not wanting to repeat everything that I had growing up, not wanting to repeat that for my children, that began my journey
Right.
into this work, and into, not even, I don't like it, call it self-improvement, the unbinding of the conditioning
Mm-hmm.
that I had been brought up with. It was simply, I began to see that I was bound
Mm-hmm.
to how I was brought up, and I was bound to the structures that I was trying to live within as well. There was a poignant moment where I had my mother-in-law living with us as we were building a house for her on our block of land. And
Mm-hmm.
she's such a beautiful soul. Like, I don't have stories of awful mother-in-law times, but having her present in my house when I had just become a new mother, and she had her views of how it should be done and these old school ways, and I began to really feel overwhelmed. And it was just a part of me that said no, because as beautiful as you are, your son is wounded, and I am wounded from these old ways of being, and I am going to do it differently. So the process then began. How do I unbind from what it is that I am, so I'm not repeating these patterns, so that I'm raising the next generation of people
Right.
effortlessly, so they don't have to do that work. I don't want them to do that work. I want them to excel and be into that. So it's generational change. So yeah,
Right.
that
And
was
that's
my,
yeah,
that was
I
my,
think they were here with you, that breaking the chains, breaking the generational curses and breaking the chains. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. 100%. And through unbinding our structures as the woman,
Mm-hmm.
because my partner, like, he will he follows everything that I do. It's a gentle guidance. He is still who I lead into, and he still is the person who is that masculine role, but the softness of that he will follow. And so if we as women unbind what I see as a structural issue that we've created for ourselves, as well as the old structures, then we are going to change the world.
Right.
One unbinding at a time. And that is essentially where I come from when
I
I think
know
of it
that's
like that.
right, Miss Danielle. Yes, I am all for
Yeah,
that.
it
I
is,
had to
isn't
come
it?
off mute when I heard that. I was like, yes, yes, yes.
I
Yeah.
expected that. I expected her to come. I knew she was going to say something on that one. I knew it.
Yeah.
It just is. It's my passion. It's like I was writing a piece because I write, and I was writing a piece the other day, and I went, the problem for me with feminism is just that it's not feminine enough. And when I say that, when I think of feminism, instead of becoming anything we want, we became what men were to their structures and their binding. And I, as a feminist, because I truly believe, obviously, in women, want to unbind the male structures and dream bigger, as in we shape the world about round what works for us.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That is so true. That everything you just said, that is the way that I think. That is the way that I work. Like everything you just said, I can relate to it. Because that's exactly, yeah.
And I had told
And
Miranda because she had an important important appointment. That's why she wasn't at the interview. I said you're going to like her. You guys have a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
same views on a lot of things, and
Yeah.
so I knew that she was.
you
You
knew
were
it would fit.
exactly right, Brittany. You were exactly right.
So
Yeah.
we're going to get into the first segment, and thank you for sharing that, Danielle, and that is awesome.
Yes, that was lovely.
Because the point about it, most women don't lose themselves all at once. It's usually a gradual aspect, and you don't even catch it until something like you said, like motherhood comes along. You lose it through expectations, that you thought were normal, and that you think is fine, and eventually your body's exhausted and your spirit's disconnected, and you're in this part at this point in time where the reclamation often begins, and we have to notice where our energy went to, and why it left and what had happened. And the questions I have is not just for you, Danielle. If anybody on the panel wants to answer, feel free. Um, and what relationship or system did you feel you're slowly shrinking or disconnecting?
Yeah. Okay. So I think I shrunk from childhood. Very, very much. I shrunk from childhood. The system of family and the loyalty you're supposed to give family. I instinctively rebelled against that within my family because I had unsafe structures within my family. My mum left my father at, I was very young when she left my father, and he was an alcoholic, and it's an abusive house. I don't have physical memory of that, because obviously I was very young, but she sort of traded only for a slightly better quality, and the better quality that he was maybe that he wasn't violent with her that I ever saw, but he was certainly violent with her children. And I rebelled instinctively against that. I should be loyal to that and loyal to my mother, in the fact that I felt being a mother, giving birth and being a mother are two separate structures.
Absolutely.
And so I shrunk in that moment. And I didn't even think I ever wanted to have a family in that moment, because I didn't believe it was a structural issue. I believed it was a generic issue. So my mothering would be like her mothering. And it wasn't until I met my partner that I began to understand that actually that's a structural thing. And his family and my mother-in-law are so very much the opposite and so stable as a family. I began to understand the possibilities behind that. And the shrinkage had to stop for me when I chose not to have contact with my mother. And I know people say that that is actually quite harsh, but the thing was, I needed ironically, I needed to heal that wound before I
Right.
could be. And motherhood brought me into a place of more acceptance where I could understand she was 18 when she had her first child, 20 when she had her second child, and simply didn't know how to be a better mother or a better system or better structure. And again, that's where my passion for this work comes from. It's like she simply didn't know. She simply didn't have a person or a space where you could do better
Right.
from to do that. So it's in those wounds that I really shrunk away in life.
And I get that. I know people that have grown up in abusive homes, and when they got out on their own, like you had said, they thought that's how everybody lived. They didn't know there was a different way of living. So I
I,
totally understand that completely.
yeah, I really didn't know what normal, if you like the word normal,
I don't.
normal.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of normal
Yeah,
because I
but
don't
like
believe
a
in normal, but
calm sort of,
another. Yeah.
yeah, a calm sort of environment was where, yeah, that just wasn't thought about.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
I get that one. Um, Miranda, Jordan, anybody else want to answer that one?
I think my shrinkage really has been a gradual thing. Until recently, it's been kind of, like
Did you mute yourself? I can't hear you, Jordan, if you're talking.
hello.
There it is.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Good.
Sorry. Um, anyway, like I was saying, I've had a lot of things happen to me in my life, and from that has come very, very many years, 25 or so to be exact, years of therapy. And in that therapy, I never really took it seriously until recently.
Mhm.
In that, I've also had 25 years of being called, strong and resilient. And, we often tend to say, someone's resilient like it's a good thing. In my situation, it was not, it made me feel like I was just seen for, all I had been through. And, like I had to tough it out like it's some, like a praise. I feel like it kind of misses the point. Resilience is good, but it shouldn't be a way to ignore the fact that someone might need that support. And so,
Mhm.
I spent 25 years of being called resilient until one day I woke up and I said, this isn't right. And I think that was my stop shrinking moment. That's the moment I started taking my therapy seriously. That's the moment that everything kind of just like clicked. And so, sometimes our shrinkage is all at one time, and sometimes it can be years and years and years later, and you not even realize what's going on.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yes.
100%. Hey, I feel that for you, and that's that shrinkage. I think that women are expected to be more resilient
Hmm.
than anybody, and we're supposed to just keep going, and then our bodies break, and
Right.
our minds break, and our soul breaks.
Right. And we're supposed to handle that in silence.
Yeah,
Keep going.
right. And unsupported and
Mhm.
in silence, and just accept that that's the way that it is.
Right. Miranda,
I
do you have
think
an answer for that one? Oh, sorry, Jordan. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think us as women, we need to learn to be strong, but I do believe we are intended to be soft. And I don't mean soft in a way of, like tender-hearted. I mean just soft and gentle. I feel like that's what our intention here on earth is to be. And unfortunately, when we're put in situations that make our fight or flight, go crazy, that's when, like, oh, we're the crazy ones. We're the ones that went off,
Mhm.
the psychotic, oh, she finally snapped. But what really put her there, this soft, gentle creature, what really made her snap?
Yeah.
And that's what made me
And
listen to Medusa to start with, is that exact same reason.
yeah. And those words are the words that I have been using as well, is women naturally have a softness.
Yeah.
And that's actually because we're expected to keep going and keep going and keep going, we're actually hardening. We're actually becoming hard.
Right.
And society is hardening. Society is hardening without the softness of us as women, because we're being pushed and pushed and pushed,
Mm-hmm.
society hardens because we're hardening to survive, where we need to be in our softness. So I
Absolutely.
100% agree with Jordan on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be in a position, in my opinion, where you feel safe enough to have that feminine. I cannot talk today, you guys. The feminine side of you be able to be present. You have to be in a space where you feel safe enough to do so, where you don't have to be the one on guard and stand strong. And and it takes a lot to get there. So I definitely understand what both of you are saying in that aspect, especially being strong and resilient, and trying to tap into that side of yourself, because it's not an easy thing to do. Once you go through society and you've been hardened like that, it is not easy to reconnect with that aspect of yourself and be vulnerable and be soft and be able to say, I need help, or I need this, you know, and to get out of that, I can just do it by myself.
Inherently, again, we're taught to do it by ourselves. Asking for help is bad. Being in groups is bad. Being vulnerable is bad. That inability to feel like it's safe for vulnerability is a huge one that keeps us in our silence. And I think the other word that I choose is shame. It's shameful to not be strong. It's shameful to feel like things are too much for
Right.
you. It's a conditioned part of the structure.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. Both of you. Miranda,
I've
did you want
always
to answer that?
Well, I just wanted to say that my strength is also started when I was a child, and like Miss Danielle, I wasn't aware of the opportunities that were out there in the world either. As you may have heard in a previous episode, those of you watching, I shared that a little bit about that, and it wasn't until my I was 31 years old. My daughter was 2 years old, and she was diagnosed with brain cancer. It wasn't until then did I awaken,
Mhm.
awaken to who I truly was. I felt like I had no choice, really, you know, even though, and that was a painful era of my life. And I felt like there was so much pain there that I didn't have a, any other choice but to realize and wake up and, you know, do something about it in order to change the path of her life.
Right.
So, yeah, I just wanted to share that.
So it's kind of the same aspect as Miss Danielle said. That motherhood kicked in, which
Yeah,
I know the history there on your past. But when that motherhood kicked in, you wanted to break those curses, the generational curses, and that
right.
that.
I,
Exactly.
I
Yes.
just got this picture in my head of this mama bear Miranda literally just like bursting out of herself and being like, not my daughter,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
sister. Like it's
Yes.
just I just saw that. Like that's amazing transformation that I just saw.
I don't
Yes,
know
and
why.
y'all look, and I did it quietly. That's the thing. It was big. The transformation was big, but I did it quietly, but I felt like that helped me through a lot of it,
Right.
and my daughter, she was very up and active. She wasn't, like a like I don't want to say the word, but she was up and active.
Hmm.
She wasn't down. So and I think that was a great part of it as well. But it was just a moment in my life that I felt, I should have been down, but I wasn't. There was someone on the other side giving me strength and letting me know that, holding me close, let me know that she was going to be all right. And
Right.
now it's time for you to do something. You got to get up.
Yeah.
And I think I do truly feel 100% that I changed our generational patterns.
That's awesome. That is amazing.
No doubt.
So with that being said, leads me to my next question. Was there a point in time, and going through all of that, that your body signaled a misalignment before your mind actually understood it? Am I muted? Are you guys there?
I'm just thinking on it. The body I think I'm going to be honest, I think I'm a mind first, body after. But I would have to say that I spent a lifetime before I became a mother doing things that squashed any kind of feeling or emotions or thoughts. I got very, very into the recreational drug scene in my 20s. Like, I'm going to own that. I never did hard drugs, but it was like anything that silenced this was the important thing, the emotional feeling. So, it would be like, well, I'm unhappy. Well, I'm going to go out and dance and take ecstasy and have a good time. And then we'll loop that around. And that happened for me every time.
Yeah.
So I feel I'm the type of person that was more present in her mind than her body. So it's probably harder for me to touch on the body first. It was definitely the mind. Eventually, the body just became so fatigued that getting out of bed every day was a difficult thing. But it was always, I need to numb the feelings and emotions that are coming up through the mind.
And I get that. Some people, because they will say that physical stress or mental stress will affect you physically, but sometimes you don't always pick up on that. You don't pick up on the things that your body is going through because, again, women are taught that it's normal and you keep pushing on, and it is what it is. So it's hard to pinpoint what that exact aspect
Yeah.
is.
And I mean, I could say like a physical aspect that was happening in my 20s, early 20s, that you could probably relate to it. And I'm only really pulling that up as I have because I don't deal with that. Is that I was diagnosed with endometriosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that is probably a trauma thing that was stored within the body. Like, I believe most of our physical illnesses that begin to rise come from the trauma of the experiences throughout time and can be worked on. So, yeah, I definitely had a physical symptom in that endometriosis process, which I don't have anymore, or I don't suffer the symptoms of anymore. So,
Jordan, Miranda, any one of you have an answer for that one, or?
Um, I do, but I do want to say actually really quick that it's very interesting about your thought process on, endometriosis being caused by trauma because I've had that same, thought process as well. I also suffer from endometriosis, so it was just interesting to see somebody else's thought process correlate with mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think to add on a little bit more of what I was saying earlier, there was this moment actually a year ago today this moment hit. After again, like I was saying earlier, after 25 years of therapy on and off, when my body finally gave me a clear signal that something is not working, something's off, something's not working. I had my mental breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
I had been talking and analyzing everything for so long, but my body, I started to ache. I was exhausted. I just I broke, and my mental progress that I had been thinking that I had put into place, it was no longer there. It just everything was breaking. And it was kind of like my body was saying, hey, me and my brain, we're not aligned anymore. And that kind of made me realize that, my healing, it's not just about talking about everything. You have to listen to your body as well.
Right.
You have to listen to how you respond to trauma. You have to listen to how you respond to little things to be able to cope with them in general. It's not just the words, it's the actions as well that you have to listen to. And I think, it did take a while for everything to click. But when it finally did click, I saw my own growth. And, in that moment, it made everything worth it.
I definitely agree with that. And like I said, there's a lot of times when things like that happen that we don't realize that they coincide with each other, that the physical ailments and your body ailments have to go with your mental aspect. Miranda, do you have a answer for that one, or
No, man.
okay? And that'll bring me to the next question then. So, and in this point of shrinking and losing, gradually losing yourself, is there a point where the quote unquote belonging cost you before you realized the structure itself was the problem, or what did belonging cost you before you realized the structure was its problem?
My sanity.
I get that.
Sorry.
No,
No,
I get it. I
I
get it.
mean, like
I get it.
if I was to say like the story I just said, like the like those years from like being 21 through to when I had my first child at 28, like when I decided on motherhood, I left all of that behind and did a cleanse on my body and that. But that time now, like I don't think I was quite sane, if that makes sense.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I just wanted to fill the hole. And what did that cost me? Well, I would say, well, it just was. It's like that time of my life is a complete sort of drug-induced haze.
Right.
You know.
It costs you a big part of your life that you can't get back. You're.
Yeah, and it's not a story of like what you see in Hollywood. It's like, oh, I functioned and I went to
Yeah.
my work and that, but all my money went on those things, and it went from being a weekend thing to an everyday sort of every evening thing, and then barely functioning at work thing to do that. So it's like it cost me that time, and I try not to live with regrets, but it's like it's yeah, I didn't feel quite sane. And I didn't feel, part of that is I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere because I was trying to fit into the structure.
Right. You're trying to fit in that tiny little box that everybody says you're supposed to be in.
Yeah, right. So that creates, and that then if you see it, that creates that loneliness within you and that hollowness. And that was the feeling that would then go, okay, well, I'm going to go and have fun, and this is fun.
Right. Jordan, Miranda.
I'm trying really hard to not think of moments as like mistakes or anything like that, because yeah, they sucked in the moment, but I do try really hard to live by like the burnt toast idea of there's a reason why this happened. And I'm not one to be able to like 100% live by that, but I do really try to adhere to that. There are reasons why things have happened, and those reasons are the reason why I am who I am today. And I'm learning to like myself, so who's to say that I would like the other version if these things didn't happen?
Right.
Yeah, I feel
And
you. I'm right there with you, Jordan. I feel the same way. Everything happened for a reason. Every experience I went through, it has shaped me to be the woman I am today, and I'm
Right.
thankful for it. Yeah.
and I don't disagree with that, but I still think that not like being stuck in that structure for me, I guess if I hadn't have gone through that period of understanding, I wouldn't be who I am today. So that is a very true point.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. When everybody stops blaming yourself for your exhaustion, that's when your deeper truth will start to surface.
Yeah. And I think like of all of those things, I like when I talk about that period of my life in that thing, I don't feel shame for it. That's a
Right.
really important element. Like I can look at it and go, well, perhaps I could have been doing more and it's wasted, but there I don't actually feel shame for it. Like I refuse to feel shame for that and carry
Right.
shame
Yes,
for
ma'am.
that period
Yes,
of
ma'am.
time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't. There's nothing you should feel shame for. It's happened. It's in the past. It is what it is.
I
So over.
I think the beautiful thing in life is that, we are able to embrace the fact that it sucks. These situations sucked. We didn't deserve half the stuff that we dealt with. They sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But the beauty in finding, finding yourself is being able to say, these suck, but this does not define me. And yeah, I think your story of, you finding yourself, after having a hell of a 20s from what it sounds like, being able to find yourself, you're embracing the suck and, it's part of who we are now.
And it also, I mean, I don't have girls to pass the structural knowledge on in that way, but I have boys. But the thing is, for me, they need structural change too. And I
Yes.
think I'm glad that I'm raising children who don't have wounds. So they're less like, well, they will have wounds because we'll always have something that we relate back to trauma, they say, but they don't need to go searching for themselves in a pile of drugs and partying like I do. That's a big aspect of who I am, and that acceptance is, and again, the change starts with us dismantling the structures so the younger generation don't have them, and just improvement in the world. Hey, like it's just time for the old to get lost and the new to come forward.
Yes. And that's absolutely true. I 100% agree with that because so many women carry belief that they're failing. And when in all reality, they're responding to the environment that don't honor their natural rhythm, the needs or designs or whatever we may need, as a person and as women. Um, and that being said, when did you first question the idea that you were the problem? Or was there a point in time where you questioned that you were the problem?
So, like I said, I think deep inside, I didn't feel like I belonged in any of what was being offered to me from childhood all the way through to now, like in that period of time of that. So, and of course, I did think it was me, definitely. And as I grew and learned and made these changes in my life to be a better mother, and I went, you know what? This isn't me. This is a structural issue in the world. This is, like I home educate my kids because I won't put them in the school system because I can see like how it raises trauma and attachment. Like we have very poor public schools up here. There's things like that. And so for me, when I say I want to dismantle structures, I literally want, it makes it very hard to homeschool your kids, run a business, and do this work. So I want to dismantle structures all the way through to the core so that the schooling system is a better schooling system. The structure of a school is better. So raising these better children. So, yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. I schooled my daughter for a bit. She's now in public school, but she was having issues with getting along with other kids, so I kind of had to put her in the space with other kids so she could get used to them. And that was the only idea I could come up with that didn't require us to, be around people that we were unfamiliar with. And so, but once I am still thinking about taking her back out of school, like that is a big, like that is something to me very, very big. Like I feel very strongly about that, taking her back out of school because me personally, I don't agree with the structure of the school, what they are teaching in the schools. Is I don't 100% agree with it. As a matter of fact, I think it's just bullshit, y'all. A lot of it is bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's women feel forced to choose that structure. So I have
Mhm.
single parents, single mums who would prefer to homeschool, but how do they put food on the table
Right.
and do that? So they're forced. So it's like by honoring ourselves and seeing ourselves first and creating softness and then using that softness to then start dismantling the system so that you have a better option of where to put her for school, like a
Yeah.
system that actually offers what is needed
Right.
for your daughter or for my son in and teaches them in a way You see, I think the school system was made for the old way and the
Yeah.
industrialized age and the age
Mhm.
that was the rise of the factory. And I
Yes.
very
My
don't like
mother,
to the ideology, but it was raised for us to be worker bees in
my mother,
that.
my mother said the same thing. She told me and my sister that several times when she talks about the school that, and the same exact, almost word for word, that is, to set them up to be a factory worker. 9 to 5, boom,
Mm-hmm.
boom, 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 boom. They have like
Right.
what I
Yeah.
think 15-minute lunches, and
Mm-hmm.
I know I have because I don't have any kids myself, but I'm very involved in my niece and nephew's lives. I take my niece and nephew to school in the morning. I have to get my niece there. The bell rings at 7. Breakfast is over at 7:15. Now she can't get out of the car until 7 o'clock. So she has to get in the car or get out of the car, get into the school, get to the lunchroom, get her breakfast, and then but at breakfast like it's done serving at 7:15.
Oh, wow.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it's something
That's
similar here. Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
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 And like even like my sister, Jordan is my sister. I didn't know if you knew that or not, Danielle. She is severely hypoglycemic. Really, really, really bad. She can eat like a 4 course meal and her sugar will drop. And my mom would literally had to argue and get doctor's notes and all this stuff from the schools for her to be able. It's not like she was going to be sitting there eating junk food and stuff like that, but just for her to have like protein bars and stuff to carry around in her backpack because it can just drop on a dime. But it was even a question on that, for her to be able to have that as a medical need, not just because she wants snacks in her backpack.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's the school system.
Mhm.
So your school system's even harsher than ours.
Yes, yes, they are serious over
Yeah.
here. Like unbelievable.
That's okay.
That's,
Okay. Yes, but it's bad.
that's
That's
I'm a bit
a whole,
shocked.
that's a whole other episode in itself.
Yes, absolutely.
Bless their heart.
Okay, so
But
that
my
we
point, my point is, it is all comes down to the structure
mhm,
and the fact that we as women, that big thing that I was saying before, we've melded ourselves into the masculine structure that the world has, but it's the feminine that has actually got the power to lead the world
Yes,
forward
right.
yes,
and not be stuck. Because the thing is men are very single focused. It's a very masculine part. That was what they were there. It's like we guard the tribe or we hunt the food. Like that energy is single soul focus.
Mhm,
And as the feminine is wide reaching and very, very full of ideas. So like my partner makes the joke, you come up with the ideas and then you give them to me and expect me to do them, and that's literally how our relationship works. Not because that's that I
yes,
wish this in the house and that happens, and he follows that because he doesn't come up with those ideas, but he likes the ideas that I come up with, if that
right.
makes sense. And so we've fitted ourselves into, say, the corporate world. That structure is very masculine, very only operates one way, very on these time frames and these time fragments. And in like as a woman, if you want to live in that world, then your kids are going to, you'll work really hard and then you'll say take your kids and they'll have to go into daycare and do all those things. But why can not these big companies create workforces that have women who have children and the children are present at work so that there's a constant contact between mother and child? It's
Mhm,
not that that's not a
mhm.
possibility. It's just they don't dream of it within the structure. And I think only women have that ability to be that creative, because the men are like, this is an office. It's
mhm.
here for one reason, to make us lots of money.
And that's kind of what I meant earlier about, like the softness. Like, you know, I am lucky. I have an amazing husband. Um, but he is very work driven. He feels like that is his place in our marriage, and I respect him for that. Um, but when we don't embrace the softness within us, I feel like that starts to affect, everybody, within our family dynamic. Like we have the ability to love, and there's so much love and gentleness and nurturing. Like we literally not that men don't play a role, but women, they grow the baby, natural, just formation there. It's just natural, science. Not
Yeah.
only do they grow the baby, like we are the first responders of, like gentleness, nurturing, things like that, and when we don't embrace that part of us, then it starts to affect everything around us and our, in our family dynamic.
Yes,
Yeah, 100%.
I agree, and I am all for it. I love this whole conversation. Like I think it was a divine timing that you came on the show, Miss Danielle, because everything you have stated, it is so great and 100%. Like when you stated that feminine will lead the world, that is exactly what it is happening now. Yes. They have women in the background, but women are stepping into their power and they know where they belong.
Mhm.
Yeah, in the front.
Yes.
In the front.
Well,
Yes,
for
ma'am.
In
instance, and I don't mean to make it political by any means, my niece, she is, how old, 17, 18. She's the next generation. She just made the front page for, protesting.
Hmm. She
And,
did. They did a school walkout. Yes, but it was
so
during
proud.
study hall. They didn't miss any school. So
And I'm proud, but finding that voice, even in the youth, that's what I mean. Like being able to find, regardless of your beliefs, regardless of anything, being able to have that strength and have that voice, you know, in my opinion, that's winning. Being able to stand up for your beliefs and being strong enough to stand straight and look somebody in the eye, that is growth. That's taking yourself out of that shrinkage that we were talking about earlier.
right.
Yeah, and that's very much, um, for me, because I didn't fit the structure, I shrunk.
Hmm.
And then when I did that, I felt like I had to leave the structure altogether. So that meant I isolated myself.
Right.
Okay. I spent a period of isolating myself because I don't fit in over there. I'm going over here, right? And now I feel I work within the bounds of the structure of society, because how else do you reach women and talk to women and help them through all of these things that we do if
Hmm.
you're not actually still within there? So in relation to what Jordan said, is that it's being able to stand tall with your spine straight and look them in the eye and go, well, no, I'm not part of your structure, but I can still exist within that structure to help make the change that I see is
Absolutely.
necessary to the structure.
Yes.
Y'all, I was sorry, I just gotta say this. I was trying to explain this exact thing to a friend of mine of how exactly how you explained it. And I couldn't quite grasp what I was seeing or what I was feeling. So I didn't put it in those words, but that is exactly what I was trying to tell her. And y'all, I am just so glad and so thankful because Miss Daniela, um, what you are doing is so magnificent. Like, and I feel like we just definitely need to collaborate on something because
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
know that there is something brewing like this. There is something big brewing inside of you, and I just know it is going to come out and it is going to impact a lot of women and bring the ones who are meant to be brought to the forefront to the forefront. Yes.
And that's why I'm grateful for an opportunity to have this conversation, because like I hadn't thought to explain it that way until I heard Jordan's words, which then brought that feeling of understanding of what it is
Mm-hmm.
to that existence. So it's so important that we continue to have conversations like this and to
Yeah.
put this out there, to be the light for people who perhaps have lost their way or don't even know that they need to find their way yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. Because there comes a point when you stop trying to be repaired. When you stop trying to repair yourself and get in those positions and trying to fix it and that structure, as you said, that's when you finally start listening to the part of you that's always been true. Basically seeing yourself through the original blueprint. seeing what you were meant to be in that aspect. And then there's a moment of reflection, and that reflection will replace the self judgment. When you stop asking yourself, "What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Then you start asking yourself, "What's actually true for me?" Where going back to that original blueprint, and I think that's where your alignment starts to begin. Um, so, in doing that, Miss Danielle, what did you discover about yourself when you did begin listening to your body and your energy instead of the external expectations and the structure of everything?
I love that question.
That I really love who I am, that I'm a really beautiful person with a beautiful soul that has pure intention and pure purpose for those who she touches and for herself, and that no story and no thing that happened to me can change that, because what's inside of me is this beautiful radiant light that shines out into the world. And so there's no point hiding over here from the structure, and there's no point trying to shadow that, because that light is the most important thing that exists within all of us, that purity that is, and that we're all pure. That we're all pure, regardless of what happened to us in our lifetime, regardless of things you might view as mistakes, or those goddamn moments where it's like, why is this happening to me? What have I done to the world? We're all just pure. We're
Yes,
a pure essence of light.
absolutely. That original blueprint, that's the best way to put it. When you take all that away, and that aligns perfectly with that, that original blueprint that you were here for, that internal, your internal soul, all of that, you take away all the trauma and all the horrible things that happen. And yes, they build you to change and bob and weave and move and things like that. But when you get to that moment of self reflection and start getting into the core of these things, that pure moment, like you said, that's the part that comes out. You know, I was at the park today with my nieces and nephew and my friend and my sister, and I put it on Facebook. Me and my friend are on the teeter totter, just having a great time. I'm in my 40s and I'm on a teeter totter, just yeehaw. you know, and
Absolutely.
I didn't care who was there. I mean, we were having fun.
That's what, yeah, the purity of the moment.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a great answer for that one. And yeah, thank you for that. That's exactly. I mean, me and my sister were talking about it before we got on here. Just not caring, just happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brandon, do you have an answer for that one?
Yeah, I'm still working on that not caring and just letting it be, kind of thing. But I love that question, Brittany. That was the absolute best question in the whole entire universe. But I hold on one second, y'all. Go ahead, Brittany. I'm gonna let Jordan go.
All right, go ahead. That's Baby J, Miss Danielle.
I
Baby J has a lot to
realized.
say.
Baby J's always he likes talking to us. So go
That's
ahead, Jordan. Do you
okay.
have an answer?
Um, I think, for me, it made me think of the difference between, a factual statement versus an emotional response.
Hmm.
So, and what I mean by that is, we're really big on saying, like, oh, I'm sad, oh, or oh, I'm ugly, or I'm, really just like downing yourself, like where that self-replication comes into place. Um, but like Daniela said, we are people, we are pure, we are, what are the facts about yourself? What are
Hmm.
you good at? When you look in the mirror, the feelings that you feel, those are the emotional responses to your self-criticism. So what are the facts about yourself? What are you good at? Like what do you enjoy? Who are you as a person? And and finding that's when, really starting to heal from the generational trauma, things like that we were talking about earlier. The really the starting to heal comes from, finding the person that's really inside of you and finding that strength to be that person.
Absolutely, yes. I definitely agree with that one. And getting back in touch with that true aspect of yourself. It is not easy to do, but it's very important to do.
It's probably the most important part of everybody's journey is being able to touch what's beneath the physical and mind layers, that light that is within us, that soul.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Miranda, are you good now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I actually have, well, if you didn't know, Miss Danielle, I'm a life purpose coach, and I actually have a challenge coming up dealing exactly with what we are discussing right now, helping women find themselves again and lead the life that they know that they are meant to lead. And when I say my life has been a roller coaster, I still love it, and it brought me back in touch with who I really was. And it took a lot. It took a lot. I had to sit in solitude for 4 years. I had to go through things, and I had to shut people out and close some doors. And I had to really sit with myself in order to figure me out. And it took me a long time to do that. People were saying, that I was acting funny or being distant, but to me it was a time that I needed, and even if other people didn't understand, I still had to go through it. I still had to do it for me. And I felt like that was important because I was trying to get closer to, well, I did get closer to the Most High. Okay, and in doing so, I did find myself, and I feel like that is what brought me to the point to where I am now, to be able to help other women do the same.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that.
And
Yes.
and it's such an important thing, because I always teach or talk when I'm in sessions or meditation sessions with people, that though every relationship, even the ones that we have with our children, they are still transient. And the
Yeah.
most important and the one that is forever is the one that you have with yourself.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So once Danielle, or well, everybody in general, um, you stopped starting to fit in that perfect structure. When you stopped, and you went through a period of isolation, were there parts of you that reemerged once you stopped forcing yourself to fit in?
re-emerged. No, they were always there, which is why I was in isolation,
Mm-hmm.
but they became stronger and I became more confident in them, and I found faith and courage in them, and but they never went away, which is why I went to isolation. I don't think it's just those parts of me have always been there and they didn't go away. Yeah, no, they were there. That's why I went to the isolated spot.
Right.
But now, if you call it a re-emergence, I brought them out of the isolation and into the structural world so that I
Mm-hmm.
can pull the structure apart,
Right.
if that makes
Oh,
sense. Yeah.
this is what I wanted. This is what I was going to say earlier. I was telling my friend that I'm sorry to bring belief in this, but um, that the Most High will place you right, will place His chosen ones right directly in the middle of chaos to bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said that, and you explained it just perfectly, when I said that to her, she didn't quite understand. She was like, "Why? Why would he do that?" He would do it to bring it down because he knows that you are going to do it.
Yeah.
But he knows who's going to do it. That's why he put us there. But yes, I'm getting
Yes.
chills, y'all.
Yeah. Me too.
Yes. Jordan, do you have an answer for that one, or? And when I say, let me reword that a little bit. When I say, reemerged, I guess you kind of explained a little better, Danielle. They never went away. There's parts, those parts never leave. They're always there. So I guess reemerge may not be the correct answer. I guess,
I For me it was an embracing.
yeah,
See,
a
it was an
resurface,
embracing.
embracing the
Like
aspect. Yeah.
before I didn't embrace them, I hid from them. Then
Yeah.
when I knew that they were there and I felt like I didn't fit in, I isolated. And then to be able to be where I am now, I had to embrace them.
Right. So I
Yeah.
guess that is embracing, or them coming to surface, because reemerging again makes me think they left. So that's a better way to word it, Jordan, if that helps you answer the question.
Can I share my screen with you ladies? Just really quick. Brittany, you can go ahead to the next question because I gotta pull it up. But I do want to show you ladies something, and I
Yeah.
think it captures exactly what we were talking about, embracing.
Yeah. Jordan, go ahead and answer while she's pulling up. If you got an answer, if you don't have one, that's all right.
For me, actually, my biggest embracing of myself came after my autism diagnosis. It kind of, clarified a lot of things for me. And, it made me realize, a lot of the things that I was doing because I felt like it was expected of me. And so I was forcing myself through a lot of like uncomfortableness. And so, like learning this about myself, not that, I am leaning into any type of, in any issue or anything like that, but it made me understand why this is like this. This is, this is why I don't like this is why I do like this. It made me be able to embrace, like who I am as a person and understand myself a lot more efficiently, and be able to care for myself the way that my brain needs me to care for myself.
And knowing you like I do, it made the things that used to drive her crazy before that. The what is wrong with me question. It was
Yeah.
able to put it into light.
Yeah. And I work very much in that field. So I'm a trained Ayurvedic practitioner as well as an energy healer. And that I take the concept. So in Ayurveda, we have what we call doshas or biohumors. So that's where I say we're not all meant to be the same. And that's
Yeah.
why we don't all fit the models and the structures. And I found my way to that because of my son's health issues or autism like symptoms that were happening for him. And so the work that I do, the thing that I like about Ayurveda is it's like it's not that there's something wrong with you, Jordan. It's actually that you're this unique, beautiful, shining
Hmm.
soul with these characteristics. And if it's not given the right conditions to thrive, like the way you're talking about, like with your brain and how your brain needed to think about it, if it's not given the right conditions to thrive, then you're essentially out of balance in your energy. And so it's about teaching you that this is this and this will help you feel better. So not this, if that makes sense. Yeah. So that's actually how I see as neurodiversity as that, it exists as something we had to create within the single structure of it, but we're all just these different energies that exist within our thing. And so that trying to fit in to what doesn't fit your energy, your biohumor,
Hmm.
makes you feel broken when you're not. You're simply not being given the right conditions to exist.
And I definitely agree with that. Luckily, she's my our mother taught us at a very young age. When things pop up like that. Because like you said, everybody has their own little ticks, their little things about them that makes them their own perfect individual. Um, and those diagnoses don't define who you are. They're just something that you may have. So, in that aspect, like, she has certain things like, with metal, silverware and things like that. So, it's simple. Make sure there's plastic for Jordan. You know what I mean? Just, it
Yeah.
just becomes second nature, you know, but it brings peace to her own brain. She has an answer.
100. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. It's
Yeah.
peace to you. And it's not weird. It's not strange. It's not
Right.
any of that. It's simply giving yourselves the right conditions to thrive.
Right.
And that's why our structures need to change because
Right.
it doesn't allow most people to give themselves the right conditions to thrive.
Right. Are you ready, Miranda?
Yes, ma'am. Can you ladies see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay,
looks
awesome.
great.
I created this to go along with my 7 day challenge, and exactly what we were talking about is the reason why I created this. I've now based this workbook off of my journey, what I went through and how I got through it. And this particular cover is while I was building She Vibes. And I took the pain that I was feeling and I created something. And
Mm-hmm.
most people may not agree with that, but it brought out so much that I felt like I wasn't alone. Like there was another part of me that was ready to come out and build something to help other women. And this is what I came up with.
It's great.
And
I like it.
yeah,
I
but
love it.
it is all about embracing every part of you, no matter what it is that you went through, embracing it, and keeping on going, and not even taking away the old parts of you. It's just embracing it because they're, like you said, they're always going to be there. It's
Mm-hmm.
always there. You just have to embrace it and keep going forward. And but there is, for anybody out there that does feel alone, you are not alone. There is someone always there with you, whether you're building something, creating something, or whatever it is that you want to do. Once you get it in your mind is going to search and your mind is going to build. You just have to keep going. Your body has to go because your mind is already going. It's your body that needs to catch up with it.
Right.
So thank you. I just wanted to share that with y'all.
Yeah, I like that cover a lot.
I love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, once you start to recognize yourself again, the relationship with your past self, it'll begin to soften. And it looks like you've done that very well, Danielle, been able to embrace the aspect of the past, and realize that it just is part of your history on the path that created you to be, the best version of yourself. Um, and so
I wouldn't I
I'm sorry.
wouldn't be sorry. I
Go ahead.
wouldn't be able to be who I am without it. And that means I wouldn't be able to hold space for the women that I'm holding space for
Right.
without it. Yeah.
And that's the thing, the women who stayed and endured and adapted and, compiled, they're not weak. And she was responding to what she had to respond to, um, with the wisdom that you had at the time. I mean, when I think back in my early 20s, we're not going to go there. That's a whole nother episode. And so, you didn't have like you said, you didn't have the structure growing up, bad childhood growing up. So you took that time and you adapted and you continue to try to adapt as time went on and continue to try to fit into that perfect box. That's why I don't like the word normal when it came up earlier. I've never liked the word normal.
I call normal a myth.
Yeah.
I try to be mindful. It's just a word we have, but I actually think that normal is a myth.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like it because what's normal to you is not normal to me, and vice versa. There is no normal, in my opinion.
I
Yeah.
don't know, y'all. I'm pretty normal. I'm the most normal you know.
So is there anything that you understand now about your choices that you didn't then? Like, did it click? That's why that happened. That's why this happened. Is there anything in your story that you?
Oh, I think I do that every day. Like,
Yeah.
I think I do that every day. I don't think I've got one specific thing that I can pinpoint right now off the top of my head, but I think I do that just in general. I can now see the intricate web that is my life.
Yeah.
Whether it be recently or in the past, that happened through those conscious decisions and pathways that we took. So I like to think of myself, and I don't, because I don't want to discourage people, but one of the key moment for me was when I took sole responsibility for myself, as in not one other person. So, like, it wasn't my stepdad's fault or for what he did when I was 6 that was making me go and snort lines of cocaine when I was 23. Yeah. And that 23-year-old me blamed him.
Yeah.
That's his fault. He did that to me. But
Right.
that's not essentially true. And those are those webs and that I can see now. And the number one change for me was like, well, no one is responsible for the choices and the actions that I chose to take at that particular time and in any other stage of my life. That's probably the most powerful of those things for me.
Jordan, I think she would get along with mom. Me and my mother have a lot of the same views. I really do. I mean, some of the things that you said, it's stuff that me and my sister have heard growing up. You're in charge of your own actions. You're in charge of your own feelings. You know, when somebody, in their late 20s, early 30s, whatever the case may be, well, you've been an adult longer than you were a child. You had time to fix that. Um, but it's just about you putting in the work on it. So it's funny. A lot of the things that you've said today, I can hear it in my ear. Um,
It's so nice to know that wisdom has been around for such a long time, though.
Yeah.
It's
funny.
new.
I like it.
Yeah.
So in saying that, is there anything, say, what did I need then and how do I support that now? What is the difference in that? I mean, I know you've talked a lot about it, but like, what that 6-year-old girl, that 20-something girl that you would support now?
Yeah, I needed unconditional love of self.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't have. And so that support of that unconditional love comes back to the number one core thing that I say when I stripped it all away, and that is that we're that pure light inside of us. Yeah. And so the ability to be able to see that and feel that and know that regardless of that, this is you inside you, and you're this light, you're this purity of essence and energy, and not the sum of these things that have happened to you. And I needed that understanding.
Mm-hmm. I get
6.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Jordan, Marina, do you have an answer for that one?
Can you re-ask the question? I'm sorry.
What was something that you needed then, as that child, that misunderstood version of yourself, child, adult, I don't want to necessarily say child, something that you needed then, and how do you support that need now?
Ooh, I needed myself. I needed the healed part of myself that I'm becoming now. And knowing that, actually, we talked about this in therapy a couple of weeks back. You know, teenage Jordan was a hateful heifer. And, we called those the dark days. But that hateful heifer did not have her driver's license, so why am I going to let her in the front seat of my car, of my life? She stays in the back seat and can be my backseat driver and complain all she wants to, but I'm driving this car now. And, but that's kind of how, I look at it, like I try to be that person that I needed back then. I try to be, that person for, anybody else who feels like I did. I try to be, a good support system, because that's what I needed. And that's what, everybody in this world needs. People need people. I I try and be a Mary Ann to all the Wandas out here, is what I try to do. But people need people inherently, so I try to be that person that people need. Not that, like I want people all up in my face. So, like a text message first, y'all, but I will be here.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because what I needed was understanding. But I can agree with Jordan, because what I needed growing up is what I became for other people. So what I lacked is now what I am. And I say that to say but I feel strongly about this as well, that the things that we didn't have are the things that we needed, we learned to become. And I feel like that is part of our journey. It's so that we can be that light for someone else.
The things that we needed became our strength.
Right, exactly, Jordan. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Miss Danielle?
Oh, that is perfectly said. That is perfectly, exactly.
Yes. All right. I definitely agree with that. And I guess that, tends to follow that way. We become what we needed. And that's what we support now in that aspect, and try to support in other people so they can, kind of see a need, feel a need, and continue to grow that. That doesn't always catch on, but, that is something that we all strive to do.
It takes a village sometimes.
Yeah. To look at that, those moments in life where you needed somebody, and so you run into that person that needs that person.
Mirrors.
So before we close, Danielle, if the women and the listeners and the people could take away one thing from you before we close, what would that be?
to be exactly who you are, no matter where you're sitting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Miranda, Jordan, do you have anything else to say before close?
No, I second that. To be
What's-
exactly who you are, no matter where you are positioned in life. Like, I don't care if you consider yourself at the bottom. You got to position your mind to feel and see that you are exactly where you want to be, and your life will change.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%.
Jordan?
I just want to say to the listeners that you have survived 100% of the bad days, so don't let your winning streak go.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
in closing, Medusa didn't need fixed. She needed to be remembered the right way.
Yeah.
And so do we. We were never weak. We were rewritten. And now I return to what is true. I name myself and I rise.
I name myself and I rise.
If
Indeed.
today's conversation stirred anything with the listeners, if it helped your questions where you've been forcing alignment, Danielle's work offers a space to continue the exploration through the embodiment energetic practices designed to help you return to your own original blueprint. And you guys know the She Vibes information. We have several options and several coaches to help you. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Miss Danielle, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This was an amazing conversation. And I am so
Thank you.
thankful that you came on the show with us.
Yes, yes.
Thank you
So,
for providing such a wonderful space.
Absolutely.
yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Miss Danielle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was such a wonderful talk, and just so grateful to sit with women who have similar ideas and concepts as well.
Yes,
So,
very much
and
so.